Well, here we are. We're back on Virtual Pool 4. Just going to change the table, the cloth colour. And this is another one lost side match in the VP4 Cowboy World Championship. And we have Acero from Japan, MrStrokem, I think, from the States. MrStrokem was the guy that put me out the tournament in the last round. And we'll have a quick look at the bracket because we've had another result today, and that was a match between Larry and Jose McEwen, and Larry won that one. I think he won it 2-0, race to 2-1 lost side, and I think he won it 2-0. I dropped in that match. It was well underway, so I didn't bother streaming it. And then later on in the winner's side tonight, which I won't be able to get because it's going to start too late for me, and that's a match between Romario and Baker Maker, the guy that put me onto the one lost side, and the two of them are going to go head to head, race to 3 at 9 o'clock tonight. So that match could last, you know, over a couple of hours, and I'd be having to go at my bed while that was on. I'll just let them know that I'm streaming this. Anyway, we've just started. Acero at the table. MrStrokem's visit was just 6. And, well, MrStrokem did enough to beat me because I didn't score in the matches I played. In the last 2 matches I played, the curious thing is I managed to get the highest run in each match, but lost. But I was so inconsistent. And that's what you get for not playing the game often enough and putting in enough time. You only get out what you put in. And I certainly didn't put in enough time. But MrStrokem, having played him, I would say that still the favourite on paper is Acero for being a wee bit more heavier scoring in what I've seen previously. But of course you never know in this game. The biggest fault I had in my matches was not getting to 90 and struggling because of it, and that's really a big burden on you. If you can't get to 90 quicker than your opponent, you're going to be struggling. So it's all down to how well you score when you get in, and whether you can race into those caroms and put the pressure on your opponent. That's certainly what happened to me. And MrStrokem back at the table. Well, if you hadn't hit that 5, that actually would have left a nice carom. He's still okay. Just get this thin, run back onto the 1. Just skimmed it. Well, we should be streaming live to YouTube, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, whatever the other ones are, Mixer and Smashcast. They all should be live streaming. Chat should be working okay. It was up and running. And MrStrokem is putting together a nice little run here at the moment. The question is can he keep the points? The deeper you go into a run, the more pressure comes on yourself. You're desperate not to make a mistake and lose your points. And this is going to be thin. If he's just going to skim off that 5 and drop onto the 1. He wants to hit this half ball. He doesn't want to hit it full in the face, this 1 ball. And that's perfect because that brings the 1 off the rail. It leaves him a pot in the 1. He's looking now. Is he thinking out a sequence here? Well, he's played the bank. That's a good shot. And this is a nice run. He does not want to lose it. The run is 45. And that's threatening disaster there. Threatening disaster. It was always a risky shot playing to that corner. Good evening, chaps. Oh, there's a name I don't recognise on Twitch. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's another match on the winner's side tonight at 9 o'clock it starts. I'm going to watch some of it, but I'm not going to stream it because there's no point. It's going to run on too late for me. I'm going to have to miss it and go to bed, which is unfortunate. If it'd been, if it'd been at this time of night, it'd have been fine. It would have been good. I've been able to get it, but in a race to 3, the potential is it could go 5 racks and it could go, certainly 2-3 hours possibly. But with Romario playing in it, it's unlikely to do so. He likes to go at a fair pace. And meanwhile, MrStrokem's visit has ended, but he's got a healthy little lead at the moment. Now, can Acero respond? I mean, having played in this tournament and been so inconsistent, I mean, on a good day I could have done a lot better, but that's the way it is. But it sets me thinking that there's a great potential for anybody to win this tournament. The deeper it goes into it, I mean, everybody's thinking Vinces is a favourite, and I think that for consistency, he's pretty good in every game I've seen him playing in. But if somebody gets it good on the day, they definitely have the beating of him. He's still going to be the guy to beat, I think. But with this game, with the type of strategy that is involved in it, and getting to those caroms, it's so important that if you're going to play Vinces at some point, you have to get there before he does. Well, MrStrokem's visit there is only 4. And the one thing that I remember about Vinces, I don't know whether it was his last match, but watching Vinces in his last match, he run out from the 90 to 101 and won the match. Yeah. If somebody hits that consistency on the day, then, and if they get their caroms together, they can certainly beat Vinces. This is a game where anybody's got the potential to beat one another. I mean, even Larry now is putting himself in the picture. Even though he's in the one-loss side, he's still got a fighting chance. But that little run of 4 there by MrStrokem, it could cost him dear, because it may allow Acero to get himself back in this rack early on here. This is a little draw into the rail in the 3-ball. Bring the 3-ball into play. Got to be careful with this one. This is always a tricky one. Running the carom from the 5 to the 1 or the 5 to the 3. Mind you, was that a pot? Ah, it was a pot. My mistake. So, We've had some... Well, we had a run of 40 odd there. What channel name? What have I done? It was all a rush job. I was at my dinner before this match was starting, so I just rushed to get it together. I don't know what you're talking about with channel name though. What, you mean the title? Oh, I've missed out the V. I was copying and pasting, that's what I was doing. Okay, hang on a minute. Hang. Right, well, if you refresh your stream, the title should be updated if it updates, because I've done it on Restream and it updates all the titles and all the stream channels that I'm using, so it should be correct now. Anyway, back to more important matters. We've got MrStrokem rapidly approaching the 90 on a run of 12 and a healthy 40-point lead at the moment over Acero. And the one thing about MrStrokem, he didn't struggle in the caroms, so Acero is up against it. If he doesn't get a good score in his next visit. 89, MrStrokem's on now. Looking for a carom, possible 3-railer. And this looks good. I think it's just going to be too soft. But nevertheless, it's got him to 89. Just 1 point to go. And that will end the first of the 3 sequences in Cowboy from 90 to 100. All your points are going to be either single or double points, but it's going to be from caroms only. But the important point is MrStrokem still isn't at 90, and Acero has a chance. He's going to have to put a good run together here though. And this, excuse me, this match, that's my dinner coming back on me, rushed it to get here. This match started at 6 PM GMT, so once again, with Acero being in Japan, he's at least 8 hours in front of me, so that's probably 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning in Japan. Excuse me. But his visit was only 10, and that is not going to be good enough. MrStrokem into the caroms. I don't know whether he can get Yeah, he can just punch that one past the 5, in behind the 5, and he can still force follow onto the 5. I don't think he's looking at it though, but to me it looks pretty good. He can force follow straight to the 5. He's looking... Ah, yes, he is going. I thought he was looking up at the 3 there. Well, cut the 5 to that right rail and either go direct to the 1 or better still in behind the 1. Well, he's going off the 3, but that'll do. The only problem now is the 1 is in an awkward spot, and again he could... Let's have a look at this 5. No, that's too near the middle pocket. Now he's going to brush and scratch, is he? No. Now, did he get the point? No, he didn't. But it's 93 for MrStrokem. And acero with his second chance to put something substantial together. He knows now that he's really got to do it. This is a point where you have to put a score together. And he's missed again. Exactly the same problems as I had, just could not put a score together. Any other day, that would have been a carom. But he's getting all the opportunities here. MrStrokem's missed his carom there on that visit. This could be a straightforward bank and a stun onto the 5. Well, he wants to get that 5 on its spot. That will give him choices here. And now he can play the carom off the 1 to the 5, or he can play the carom off the 1 to the 3, or he can go off the side of the 5, left hand side off the bottom rail and spin into the 3, which is what he's looking to do. If he gets too much spin on it, he's going to go around the corner. Yeah, he's got it right. Now needs a good straight pot. Still back on 72. And he's in a similar position to before in that last shot. The only difference is the 3's further up the table, but he can still play the force follow here, I think. Yeah, just chipped it and no more, and the 5's going to go in. That's a bonus. So now just 10 points behind. The run goes to 24. Needs another good pot though, and needs to watch he doesn't go with too much pace here. And that now will take him to 88. Now he needs to watch he's not going to go out of sequence here. He's looking at the 1, he's on a carom, and the danger, he doesn't want to play the 5. He can do the force follow though. Plenty of room to push that 5 in behind the 3. Now can he see the 1? And that's always going to be the problem. And now his visit is over. Unless he can fluke this 1. It's the only way he can score is by potting that 1 ball. And he's going to be stuck in 89. And he's just trying to leave the 1 ball in an open spot to make it more difficult for MrStrokem to get a score here. And this is putting a wee bit more pressure on MrStrokem if he can't get the carom, and he hasn't. And Acero doesn't have anything easier here either. He's got a very difficult cut in the one for the 1 point that he needs. Now, of course, he can still play a carom for that point, but that isn't easy either. This looks good. Oh, just not enough spin. Once again, I think he can push that 5 to the just past the jaw and play the carom to the 1. Certainly can. And now he's in pretty good shape here, MrStrokem. Oh dear. Well, he would have thought he'd have got that every day of the week. But now the 1's set up. The 1 will spot, and the 1 and 5 will be the easy carom to follow. So this will take Acero to 90. The 1 gets respotted, and the 1 and 5 are sitting very adjacent to one another for an easy point to follow. So now it's the race to 100. Who's going to get there first? And Acero needs to play this with a wee bit of pace, I think. Well, he's trying to be cute here, leave the little draw shot. The reason I said that is to get the 2 balls into play. He's trying to keep them close together, but obviously with this type of shot they're going to run away from one another. Where's the 5 going? Oh, that's a disaster. That's him back on 89, and that was his chance. And these balls are gathering pretty nicely for MrStrokem. Oh, I thought he'd missed that. Just skimmed the edge of the 3, and now he's sitting very nicely indeed. And another easy one to follow. This is the way you like them to fall into place. So, 98 is the score. And that scratch for Acero could be fatal, although he's still got a lifeline. But he still has to get back to 90. He's got the 1 ball as a starter. Cue ball going over to the right. He wants to get over past that 3 ball to leave him the carom from the 3 to the 5. And he's missed a 1, and that could well be his last shot, or his last real scoring chance in this rack. So, MrStrokem on 99. Looks easier to just draw off that 5 onto the rail and kick into the 1. Doesn't like it though. Where's the cue ball going? Well, he's going to have a slim to 0 chance of getting out here. He's going to have to just amp that cue ball, pick a pocket and give a blast on the 1. And now Acero is at the point of no return. He has to keep that 1 ball safe, or he has to guarantee he's going to get a carom, because he could leave it all set up for MrStrokem to get out. So for the second time, Acero gets the 90, and he's going to have to play well here, and that could well be the end of this rack. He's done exactly what I've said. You just don't want to put that 1 ball into position to make it easy, and he's done exactly that, going all out for the carom. And it's an easy out for MrStrokem, and a comfortable win in the first rack in this match, in a race to 2. And he's also got the advantage of breaking off in the second rack. So immediately has a chance to put some points on the board. That's way offline. Now, what can acero do? MrStrokem in first, only 3 points. And acero needs to make his mark. And straight away he's got himself in trouble. Played the pot and the carom and didn't get the pot, and now he's left himself a middle distance pot here on tight pockets, remember. And that one ball lying on the bottom rail is sort of out of play, especially when the other balls are fairly distant from it. You've got to try and get it into play either by playing a carom off it or getting that cue ball down so you can pot it and get it back on its spot. Well, the 5 will spot, so again he's just stunned that too hard. We know what these pockets are like. They are tight, and if you just rattle them, they ain't going in. And that is a mistake by acero. One that he can't afford really to make. He needs to get himself in this rack fairly quickly. Now that could have been better. Now he can stun onto the 1, but he's not played the stun. He tried to play the spin into the 1. He's missed that, and it's only 11. And acero trying to get right over to the right hand side to give himself an angle to try and this is not easy, this. Yeah, he had to be careful, but the good thing now is he can get the 1 into play, get the 1 on its spot. That needs to keep going. I think he was trying to get right over to the right to leave the carom from the 1 to the 3 and make it a bit easier. He's still okay. Cue ball going very close to that pocket, and now acero is in, well, he's in a bit of a hole here. He's going to have to pull off a good pot to keep this run going. This is by far and away the toughest pot. Difficult to judge potting into a blind pocket, and once again the run is only 12. And it's only a very slender lead. He's not really left much easy here for his opponent. Carom to start off. Same again, same problem. It's going to have to be a tough pot. And then it goes. And now he's almost in shape here. Again, it needs another good one. There is no leeway on these pockets. You've got to be accurate. There is a little bit of give if you play the right pace. But you've got to get them online or they won't go in. Well, the longer acero leaves it before he starts scoring, the more desperate the situation's going to be, because if MrStrokem gets in and puts something together, it really puts the pressure on. And another tough cut here at distance. And that needs to go past the 5. Well, that may well have set up a stun carom to the 1. He can thin it and go off the rail onto the 1, whichever he prefers. And if he misses it, he might hit the 3. Well, now, probably a good idea to thin cut that 5 and get it on its spot. And that should line him up with a carom to follow. Oh, just the weight of the ball took it into the hole there. Now this is going to have to be a hard stun. Now, has he got a pot? Yes, he has. And again, keep that cue ball up the top end there, and he can have a 3-5 carom to follow. Just get it behind the 3 spot. And that looks pretty good. In fact, he's got a choice. He can go 3 to the 5 or 3 to the 1. But right now, this isn't a threatening score from acero. He has to get into the 40s here if he can, and put a substantial run in. Commentators curse. No sooner have I said that, and then he's missed the 3 ball, and the run is only 18, and the lead is slender. Looks like the bank. And this is a difficult one to judge. Yeah, he doesn't fancy the force follow from the 1 to the 5, so he's going to go off the rail and across to the 1. And if you don't get that, if you don't quite get that running where you played a carom and you don't get on an easy pot next to it, that's why it's such a struggle to build some points. You see, that was not an easy pot either. And MrStrokem's visit is only 2. So acero, I mean, every time you come to the table, if you've got a deficit, your first goal is to wipe out that deficit. And that's a visit there where MrStrokem has failed. And it gives acero an inviting opportunity to build up that score and chase up to that 90 if he can. There's such a narrow margin in this game. As the quality goes up a level later on in the tournament, you know that your opponent's well capable of scoring. If you can't, it's more than likely that your opponent is going to put something together. And this time acero is going to have to either cut that 5 into the middle or play it long. Just a delicate thin edge here. And still in play, still on the 5 ball. This is a good opportunity to just put some points here. Already with 17 in this visit. And now these are going to open up. He's cut the 5 to the middle this time and stay in the bottom half of the table. Well, he's running up to the middle now. What's he left himself here? This is okay. He can play the force follow to the 3, no problem. 5 ball's going to go to that jaw, I think. And he's still got a pot. Now this time, thinking about the 3. The 3's going to spot at the top end as we look. But he's a bit straight on it. And again, having to play the stun shot to try and get that cue ball out into the table. He set it into the jaws, and of course they just don't go in at that pace when you hit the jaws. So Acero's lead is what, 39? Is that going to be enough of a lead by the time MrStrokem's finished this visit? Now this is just about judging the spin off that end rail. And again, this time MrStrokem's in a similar position. He's got to have to pull off a pot here. But where does he leave this cue ball to give him his next carom? And he's way off the mark in that one. And well, this is what, the second or the third time now that Acero's come to the table, certainly the second time, where he's still got that lead. And he's still trying to build on it to get to 90. And at the end of this visit, he really should be on 90. That's the primary goal with this visit. Now he's still got the open table because his first 2 shots have been pots and a carom. And again, he still has the open table. It's another pot and a carom. Little draw. Once again, hitting at half ball. The one's going in, which is a bonus. Now, does he try and cut back that 5, or does he go for the 3? Now, if he goes for the 3, the cue ball should be going over to the left if he hits it hard enough. The problem is he doesn't want to risk hitting it hard enough. And he's actually finished pretty good there. Just to drop through again for the force follow. And he has to keep an eye on his score. It's so easy to get engrossed with getting your position for the pot and the carom, and you forget what the score is. And he's now on 80. And the last thing you want to do in Cowboy is tell your opponent that he's potting out a sequence, or remind your opponent that he's getting very close to 90. You're just desperate for him to make a mistake when you're sitting back there in 35. Well, he's now got a problem because he's on 87. I don't think he can see the 3. It would have been ideal if he could to cut it down the rail. And he's now going to have to cut this 1. Just has to get it flush. And that will do. And also the little bonus of the carom. And an easy carom to follow to get to 90. And Acero now is looking good for the second rack. Force follow. He could get a 2-pointer here if he glances the 3 and runs on to that 5. Now, did he get there? Did he get there? Yes, he did. He just got there and no more. Well, I would be punching this 3-ball around the angles, trying to get it out into the table. And this is now where you have to hold your nerve. He's on a run of 28. He's into the caroms. He doesn't want to lose them. Fatal error to lose his points. Well, this is where he's going to have to make one. Now, does he take that risk? He can go off the 5 onto the bottom rail and up onto the 3. He needs to get the spin though. He hasn't got it. But, job done. He's achieved what he set out to do there on that visit. The run of 29 takes him into the 90s. And all the pressure on MrStrokem to somehow try and get back into this rack. That's not going to go there. He sent that to the jaw. You could see that straight away. Well, that's a bad one. Now, can acero get this thin enough and still catch that one? Well, he certainly can. Can go from the 5 to the 3 next. Looking at his options, well, if he goes from the 3 to the 1, it's a fairly big target, but there's a danger of going to the knuckle in that middle pocket. And he's okay. Well, this time he can go from the 1 onto the bottom rail and around the corner onto the 3. That looks nice. And now again, he can go 3 rails if he wants from the 5 around the angles, either onto the 1 or onto the 3. That's one good option. He doesn't like it though. He's looking to play the draw. And is the spin going to work? Yes, it is. Just feathered the 3. Takes him to 97. And once again, he has a choice of shots here. He can still play a 3-railer from the 5 round to the 3, or he can go from the 1 off the top rail down the side onto that 5. Not in this version of the game, no. But in the original, you know, the standard version of Cowboy and Virtual Pool 3, one guy did a straight run to 101. The best I've done in this, on the 10-foot table anyway, not in this, on the 10-foot table, the best run I've had was 89. I had an 89 one day. And that's the alternate pots and caroms. Well, MrStrokem with it all to do in this second rack, if he's going to actually win out this match on a straight 2 racks. It's looking unlikely though. He's going to have to hope he gets a bit of help from his opponent in the caroms here. But acero is on the... He's on the final few furlongs, as they say in racing circles. He only needs another 4 points to tie the match up. Meanwhile, MrStrokem's battling away to put a score together. Try and get 290 with this visit. He's still a fair way off it. Well, he's got a 2-in-1 shot here, the one I like to play. You go off the end rail, side rail onto the one. If you hit it with enough pace and you miss the one, you've always got that chance of hitting the 3, but he's missed the one. And the visit is 33. And nothing is easy here for acero. Again, he's got a 2-in-1 shot if he wants to play it with the right amount of pace. Try and get that one, and if you miss the one, you can always get the 3, but he's played pretty much dead weight to the 1. Takes him on to 98. Now he's going to have to, if he's going to go off the right hand side of the 5, he can play it with left hand inside English to try and straighten the cue ball up and create a line to the 1 ball, but he's not looking at that option. Looking to stun onto the 5 off the end rail. And he's got the spin. Now is he trying to... Well, I think it's much easier just to spin off the 5 onto the 1. It takes any risk of a scratch out the equation. That takes him to 100. The only thing is he just knocked it past the middle pocket. I don't know whether he can draw into the middle pocket. Let's have a look. He's looking to just go through it. I think he could draw into the middle pocket as well. He has 2 options here. Just trying to get that pace. And of course, that little bit of spin in the cue ball just kept it out the pocket. Now the shoe's on the other foot. MrStrokem has to be thinking about what he's doing and trying to keep that 1 ball safe if he can't get the carom. So he's okay there. He's got 1. The 5 ball's now dead in the left rail. And this is exactly the point where does MrStrokem risk trying to get another carom, or does he just try and leave that 1 ball as awkward as possible? He's missed the carom, and it's now given acero a free go here. The favourite looks to be the right hand corner pocket as we look. So this to tie the match and go into a final rack decider. Didn't get it thin enough. And this is the point I'm making here. Look at where the 1 ball is. And MrStrokem doing the right thing. Just playing it safe. Blocking off the shot to the 1. You'd be amazed at the amount of players that play Cowboy and they don't think about the safety strategy when it gets down to this point in the match where you're fighting to stay in the match. Your opponent's only needing a scratch. You've got to think about keeping that 1 ball safe. Now where that 1 ball is right now is awkward. Well, MrStrokem's immediately going to be taking a risk here. Well, he's lost his points, but he won't be worried. He was just trying to thin edge the one. He's lost his 5 points, but he won't be bothered about it. The one ball is dead in the bottom rail. Now, can acero... Now, in Virtual Pool 3, you used to be able to put loads of top the cue ball and spin right off that one ball. With loads of spin, it would still push it back towards the pocket, and it would drop in. In VP4, that isn't quite as easy. But this is what he's trying. He's trying to get the spin to work for him. Yeah, it looks odds on, like a double kiss. He's hoping it kisses him into the pocket, though. Yeah, he's decided he doesn't like it. Yeah, if this was Virtual Pool 3, I would have played the shot and would have spun into the pocket straight away. Now, balls are all in their spot. MrStrokem on 76. Acero waiting on one good opportunity. Oh dear, what's happened here? Well, this is where Jose McEwen didn't know the rules. You can rest assured that Acero knows the rules, because he's going to either force follow into the middle pocket or draw back into the corner. And Jose earlier on in the tournament didn't know that he could play the one ball when it was on its spot, and that's ended up being a gift for Acero. And Acero ties the match up at 1 rack all, and the match has been on for probably just over 50 something minutes. So that's 2 racks of Cowboy played in well under the hour. And it's anybody's to win. Whoever can put the score together and get up there is going to have first shout. And just on 2 hours time, we've got the match between Baker Maker and Romario. It's going to start in 2 hours time at 9 PM GMT. I'll be watching some of it. I won't be streaming it, as I said. It's starting too late for me, and it could run on well past my bedtime. So I'll watch the first hour of it anyway, at least. And again, MrStrokem just getting that way too thick. So it's just a run of 5. It's either the bank or the carom to the 3. And a no scoring visit for Acero. Oh, that needed a wee bit of spin on that cue ball. It's always wise to put a wee bit of spin on it when you're going, when you're likely to go to the rail, just to try and help that cue ball back into the object ball. And he had it plain ball there. And Acero, potting the 5, tried to spin into the 3 to leave himself an open table, didn't get the hit. Now he's got the same shot as MrStrokem, and he's gone direct to the 3. Three's going to spot, and an easy carom to follow. even playing this carom shot, it's always best to try and cut that 3 down to this left corner pocket to guarantee you're going to leave yourself a pot, but he's actually hit it too hard. And he's got an awkward cut in the 1 and an awkward cut in the 5. And now he has a choice of shots. 5 to the 1 or 1 to the 3. And where's his next pot coming from though? He's got no shot. He's going to have to bank that 1 or cut it very tight to that middle pocket, and there is not much room to get a ball in that pocket at that angle. He could cut it long. Well, he's going for the middle, but really, really tough. So both players in this final rack are stopping and starting. It's the first player looking to get a run together to build up that score. Where's the cue ball going? Well, that's a disaster. And no scoring visit from MrStrokem. And Acero will be looking to build that lead right now. Again, Acero playing the pot and trying to draw onto the 1 to leave an open table, but didn't get it. And this time he can get that 3 back up onto the spot, and it will guarantee him a fairly easy carom to follow. He wants to get over to the right at least to give a sight on that 5-3 carom, and that looks good. I think he can force follow no problem. Good evening, Albie. You know Romario's playing at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock your time. Romario's going to be playing Baker Maker in the winner's side later on tonight, just in case you're interested. Now, even Romario has got a very good chance of winning this tournament. I couldn't pick a winner now. But once again, Acero, I don't know what he scored there, but he certainly didn't score much at all. I wasn't paying attention. And meanwhile, MrStrokem has hung up the 5. So neither player wants to take this rack by the scruff of the neck. Well, you know and I know that if Romario kept his head together in this tournament, because he likes to play his caroms, if he kept his head together for any appreciable length of time, he would have a very good chance of winning it. But you know he's about to explode at any time and go straight off the rails. Well, somehow or other, Acero is building a lead up here, but he's been given every opportunity by MrStrokem, and likewise, MrStrokem's been given plenty of chances, and all of a sudden he can't score. But Acero has got himself out of line here. He's going to have to dig out a carom from somewhere, playing the draw. And now this is exactly the point now when MrStrokem's looking at the score. He's sitting on 19. His opponent's in 54. He's coming to the table thinking he's got to put something on this scoreboard here in this visit and try and eat into the deficit. And that one ball is not in a good place right now. Oh dear. Oh, MrStrokem's taking his eye right off the ball. Thinking about, I think, leaving a force follow through to the 3 off the 5 there, but I don't even think that was on. Well, this time, Acero now has been given the invite to get to 90. Acero now has an open table. He's got to get that one on its spot and just drop onto the bottom rail. Well, he's gone up the table. He's going to leave himself at distance here for the force follow. Well, I said he's looking at this 5 ball, because if he plays the pot to the top corner, he's going to run through to that right side rail. He's got a stun from the 1 to the 5 for his carom. Still looking to leave himself a pot, and he's got nothing easy. He can cut back the 5. Cue ball. He needs to watch where he's going with it to leave himself his next carom. What's he left himself? Well, this is again a difficult one to judge. He can either go to the end rail and come in behind the 3 or try and go direct to it. And that little half ball kiss on the 3 allows him to pot it, get it into play. And all the time, he needs to be keeping an eye on his score and not losing track. He's on 84. The run is on 33. Well, it's now 34 with that little bonus carom. And now on 88. With a thin edge in the 5. A little brush through onto the 3. And now an easy, well, I say easy, easy-ish pot down the right rail to get him to 90. Well, MrStrokem now is at the point of no return. He is a long way back in this rack. And Acero has put his score together at the right time. But can he keep it? The run is 37. He's going to go half ball in the 3 to the right rail, out onto the 5. And an easy one from the 5 to the 1, but has to play this dead weight for safety's sake here. He doesn't want to play this with any great deal of pace. The danger's always a scratch. And that's exactly why he played it at that pace. And now, does he take the risk? He's got 39 points. He's got 93 on the board. He doesn't want to lose them. He doesn't want to let this cue ball run. Although, he's got a fair chance of getting a 2-rail carom to the 3. And that was a good shot. And same again here, but it's dangerous. Trying to go off the edge of the 3 and spin down onto that 1 ball. And he won't be bothered about that. He's preserved his points. The run is 40, but more importantly, he's well into the caroms. He's on 94. And MrStrokem is way back in the distance. Well, I suppose if you're ever going to prove your worth in the tournament, it would be by putting a substantial run together when it's required. Like right now, MrStrokem staring down the barrel here. And maybe now would be the right time to just take the risk and loosen up and go for it. Far better going down fighting than just whimpering in a corner. Well, this is going to be the tough one. He's got nothing easy here. He can dig down into that 5 ball, play the stun on the one, has to hit it with pace. He took the risk. Cue ball threatened to scratch, but he's got away with it. Five out of 10 times that cue ball would scratch in a corner when you play those shots at that pace. But as I say, sometimes you've just got to take the risk. You've really no other option. Well, that 3 ball not quite hugging the rail, but not helping MrStrokem's position. And he went for the bank, and the run is 20. And he's still trailing by quite a margin. And acero going off top side of the 5 to the side rail onto the 1. And that's a nice pace. He's kept everything in control. And an easy carom again to follow. Now, if that had just stayed top side of the 5, it would have been easier. But you can go 2 rails. Little bit of help in English. Acero on 97, rapidly approaching the finishing line. Now, is he going to play the straight draw? Can he avoid potting a 5? Yes, he can. Oh, that's now sitting very pretty. Now, he could play the 1 and just hope for the little double kiss here. The double kiss would push the cue ball back onto the 5. But he can play the little draw, but that's opening up the 5 ball. Oh, the 5's going perfect. That takes him to 100. And he's got an angle to try and push this 1 ball away and spin the cue ball into that corner pocket. I don't know whether he can. Oh, yes, he can. And it's game over. And acero came on strong at the right time. MrStrokem didn't get his scoring boots on in the earlier part of that rack. And it's acero that marches on to the next round in this year's VP4 Cowboy World Championships. So let's have a look at the bracket. Now that should update in a second. And we'll see that, well, it's going to be a good match, this next one-loss side match, because it's going to be between Vinces and acero. Now that's provided Vinces turns up. Because he didn't turn up for his first match, and that's why he ended up, or his last match, I can't remember. It wasn't his first match, it was his last match. And he's ended up in the one-loss side. And it's acero and Vinces in that match. That's going to be a good match to see. And well, Larry is waiting on someone coming across from the winner's side. And meanwhile, a quick reminder again before I go, we have the match between Romario and Baker Maker. And Bill Baker Maker gave me a pounding, and Romario is going to have a tough match, but it should be a very good match between these two. And that's going to start in about an hour and 45 minutes time, guys. So if you can get there, get in and watch it. I won't be able to stream it, but I'll be watching the first hour of it or so before I go to bed. And until we meet again, chaps, thanks for watching, and we will see you again soon.